is that clear to everyone? I mean, some of us are.
I don't know if
I
it
don't
is, but it
think-
should be. You need, the university policy is that during each academic year, the instructor will assess instruction in at least one class.
I think the 3-year cycle thing is what people are.
Yeah.
confused.
Pardon?
Like, or maybe I'm being, not remembering this
Oh,
correctly, but we
okay.
thought we would do on our formal report that we submit to
Right.
whomever, we would focus on vet tech, right? Or we're not doing.
No, what I had proposed was that for year one, which will be next year, we look at 100 and 200 level.
Oh, that's right, sorry.
Second year, 300 and 400 level, and the third year, graduate level. And then fourth year, we're back to the 100, 200. But eventually, with this kind of a schedule, you will have 3 years worth of data rather than just the one.
But so everybody though still needs to do it every year.
Yes.
And then, because I think that's, because everyone
Yes.
goes every 3 years, so everyone does it every 3 years, and then it just gets, the 1 and 2s get turned in, 3 and 4s get turned in, the graduate and upper right gets turned in. Okay.
I think the answer to that question is maybe depending on your circumstance, but if all of us do thorough assessment activities in each of the courses we teach, if we teach very many courses, all we'll be doing is assessing, we won't be teaching. So I don't do assessment in every one of my classes each year. We're on a rolling 3-year cycle in the vet tech program, so our pre-professional classes, whichever of those I teach, that's for the coming year, those are the ones I'm gonna do formal assessments on. Doesn't mean I'm ignoring the rest, just means I'm not, worrying about all the crossing the T's and dotting the I's on those.
Okay.
But what we just talked about on determining what the students did well with and what they didn't, that's something we should do every time we give an exam.
I would concur, it just depends.
And
We're all
not that you-
individuals.
Not that you spend an hour and a half figuring out this, but you spend 5 minutes at least
Sure.
at the end of every exam, saying, okay, this didn't work. How am I gonna do this different?
But we can't be prescriptive because one size doesn't fit all. We can be more descriptive in terms of things. And Tom has described what works for his particular program. David has talked about what's in policy 332, section 1. Got that one lined right. But it's not an albatross gang. It's part of trying to teach as effectively as we can, and have our students walk out and do the best job that they can. Okay, I'm gonna pick on Tom's language, not on him as an individual. I heard him say in year X he's going to look at the pre-program courses. Okay, and that's cool. And what David has recommended as a procedure for the department, 1 and 2s, 3s and 4s, and grad level classes is cool, because now we have a scenario where you can be looking at what you should expect students to know coming into your class. So as students, and I realize I'm talking about the old curriculum, so please bear with me, but as students leave 123, what should Joel recognize that those students should have as tools in their toolbox when they get to 323? And what should Mark then expect students to know and be able to do when they hit 470? Bold scenario, I apologize, but that's the one that I'm working with. God, it's quiet in here.
So does that mean then that, I'm thinking through this, if you're doing a 3-year cycle and you want to know if you're improving, right, then you should be asking the same question through this 3-year cycle, or whatever that question is and however you ask it. Otherwise, if you're adapting and you're teaching differently, so you ask a different question, then it's tough to follow those through that 3-year cycle.
You may not need a 3-year cycle, you might need a 5-year cycle, okay? You get to you're asking the questions, what are the first 3 things or 2 things that I want students as I leave my class to know and do? Okay? And you work on those, and you emphasize those. Once those become institutionalized and you're happy with that particular level of achievement, throw a party, declare a success, and then move on to the next piece. Because if 12 years down the road, you're still looking at the same 2 or 3 student learning outcomes, there's something wrong somewhere. Does that make sense?
I think the other thing that'll help a lot is, just, increase our communication. I don't know, has anybody ever read the assessment report? I had, oh, sorry, good, thank you. But I was just thinking, before I did this, I never read, I mean, I was teaching here, I don't know how many years, and I never read it. I never picked up what was given. So you know what I'm saying? I think I learned more helping put the document together than I ever knew before. And so I think that there's an opportunity here for us to break out maybe in smaller groups or whatever by discipline or whatnot, and see some examples that the equine studies group is doing, the vet tech group is doing. And maybe we want to, for the nutrition folks, sit down and say, okay, yeah, here's the progression we want to see. You know what I'm saying? And I think that will help us out, and that'll help drive, because I think all of us ultimately care that we are good teachers and we do want to do a good job. That's not it. I think the part that's missing is how do we communicate that, and then how do we build on what we have. And I think we could just increase our communication and see what goes into these things and see what good ones look like. That'll help us. And I think otherwise it is kind of ambiguous, and it's kind of like, okay, I did a pre-test, post-test, and here's my averages.
Sure.
I don't understand why else I have to do this. So I think it helps, and it'll help, I think, ultimately the whole teaching program if we just start that kind of communication. Maybe.
Okay.
Sense.
Now, could I build on your question, your initial question? How many of you have seen the review that came back to the department's assessment report? Okay. Enough said on that one.
Well, maybe,
Thanks.
should we, who didn't see it?
Ton of folks. I know departments that ask for the review in email or in electronic format so it can be distributed.
Yes.
So, you know, that's easily done. So you're saying you want it?
That would be great. I think there are a limited number of the blue copies, and they tended to sort of not move.
Okay. This is audience participation time, gang, and the audience ain't participating.
Are there any other popular methods out there that you haven't mentioned? That would, you know, work for animal science kinds of courses?
My kingdom for an eraser.
There's one. We got one.
I know
just-
that,
Keeps my
Maybe since we're in a new fiscal year, we can buy another one.
how about you, Dave? Well, you know, either that or take out the collection.
That's been through a couple of fiscal years.
What, the most prolific example in use of assessment techniques that I can think of is Caroline Greigel in her 225 class. Casey's nodding. Have you seen what she does?
Can we see what she does?
You
It's-
bet.
Okay.
Okay. I have just recently received permission from her to go into her CD that's in PDF format. I
Okay.
can print off those particular pages. I can't pull off the entire document because, you know, she's sensitive to that. But I can give you printed material.
Yeah, we can scan it.
And I will work with that.